well. So I'll turn it over to Daniel.
Awesome, thank you very much. You did a great job. That was an awesome job explaining SBIR company, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. So just by a quick show of hands, how many of you before this morning had heard the term SBIR and knew what it meant, what the acronym is for? Okay, not bad. A lot of good knowledge there. So hopefully I can expand on that a little bit. I'm going to talk to you a little bit this morning to begin about the Tom Love Innovation Hub, which is where the Oklahoma Catalyst programs are based, and the overall organization at the University of Oklahoma that is leading that effort. And then I'm going to jump into SBIR and talk a little bit about the Catalyst programs and how they are seeking to support Oklahoma-based entrepreneurs and small businesses that are seeking SBIR funding. So how many of you have, again, show of hands, been to the Tom Love Innovation Hub? Okay, good number as well. So in case you didn't know, the Tom Love Innovation Hub's mission is that we're working to increase entrepreneurship and innovation across the University of Oklahoma and the surrounding community. And a key portion of this that I think makes the hub really unique is that it is free and open to anybody. And many of you that have been there know that, but that is truly unique, both in a university context and elsewhere. So the hub combines a number of great resources that are scattered elsewhere in other places, but very few actually make those all available in one place and actually makes that free and open to anybody. So I just want to point that out and emphasize that because it is really unique, and I think for some of us that are used to being there, or maybe have been there quite often, sometimes forget that and take that for granted. So just a quick overview for those of you that have not been there. One of the things that was mentioned is fabrication help for AvPro. So we do have a fabrication lab with 3D printers, laser cutters, near furniture grade wood shop, metalworking, and just about anything else. There is a visualization lab, so if you want to get exposed to or use virtual reality technologies, there are 4 HTC Vives as well as an Oculus Rift. Sorry, reverse that. 4 Oculus Rifts and 1 HTC Vive. There is space for you to work, so anytime 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the week that you want to come and have a place to work, maybe you want to get out of the office, or maybe you're still very early and don't have an office and still need a place to work, that's there for you. We do have a cafe and fitness center, so in case you really get hungry, need some caffeine to fix you up, or you want to get a quick workout in, you can do that. We do have experts in entrepreneurial advice, both at the Ronnie K. Urani Center for the Creation of Economic Wealth, and we have some friends here from that organization, as well as from the Tom Love Center for Entrepreneurship. And so both of those entities offer short sessions for you to go in and talk about your entrepreneurial ideas and your ideas for new ventures, and get insight from folks that are used to dealing with these issues on a day in and day out basis and ask the tough questions. So these last 3 that I mentioned are highlighted in blue because they are relatively new. The Code Lab, whose manager, Kristen, is here and helping make this all possible, is new as of this semester. They have a ton of hardware and software systems and events to support coding and coding skill development. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask Kristen. We do have a legal clinic. So one of the big issues with early new ventures is trying to find legal advice, right? So where do you go and where do you find that for cheap? Well, Legal Clinic's free. It's a partnership with the OU Law School. It's third-year law students. And anytime that you need advice, you can walk in. The one caveat with that is they are students, and so it is on a semester-by-semester basis, so that's not available over the summer. But pretty much anytime during the semester, you can go in and get free legal advice on business contract issues and very simple IP, which is great. And last but not least, the reason that I'm speaking to you this morning, the Oklahoma Catalyst program. So again, this is very new. We started all of this in December, so everything that I'm going to talk to you about is really only about 4 or 5 months old. So let's talk a little bit about SBIR or STTR. So the acronym is actually the Small Business Innovation and Research Program, or Small Business Technology Transfer Program. It's about a $2.5 billion program that the Small Business Administration manages every single year. So one of the big questions in politics right now is where do your tax dollars go at the state and federal level? This is one of the programs that your tax dollars help to fund. And the reason that this program exists at a fundamental level is there are really, really neat and interesting technologies that have profound societal impact, or at least the potential to have profound societal impact. But in the traditional banking sector where you have to have leverage and assume that people are going to fail and recover your money, hopefully that's not a bad characterization. Yes. where you have to protect your resources and get your investment back. The evaluation of those deals are different, and you probably wouldn't fund something that's as high risk as SBIR tends to be. And the same is true in the venture capital sector, right? You have to worry about recovering your money. So the thought was, let's create this program where the United States federal government funds small businesses to do innovative research and development for new products that can benefit society and advance technology capabilities within the US. So the way that this program works is the United States government entities such as Department of Defense and others, which we'll get into, will say, we want somebody to solve this problem for us. And they'll put out a topic, and you go and search and find that topic, and then you submit a proposal to that topic. And if you win and are awarded that topic, typically the phase one that you win is over 6 months. It's typically in the amount of $150,000, but it can be as low as $70,000. The reason that there's variability there is because every federal agency that participates manages the program in their own way. If you're successful in the phase one and you move on to phase two, you can typically get between $750,000 all the way up to $1.5 million, and that can even go up to $2 million. The great thing about that is just because you have an initial phase two doesn't mean that you have to stop there, right? So you can get continued funding through phase twos and other government contracts, and once you have an SBIR contract with the government, you have a sole source contract, meaning that you don't have to compete for government dollars after you have that initial investment. So the agencies that participate, the two largest are the Department of Defense and the National Institutes of Health. Together, they make up almost $2 billion of that $2.5 billion, so there's a big drop off after those two. But there are also others. There's the National Science Foundation and all the others that you can read here. And one of the challenging things about SBIR is all of these government agencies manage the program in their own way because they all have unique needs, right? So the Department of Defense is worried about very different issues than the Department of Education. But all those issues are very important to society, and they're trying to fund people to make advancements in those realms. So some SBIR companies that you may have heard of that you didn't realize had SBIR funding. So iRobot not only makes the awesome vacuums that vacuums you or your grandma's house so that you don't have to, or grandma doesn't have to, but they make a lot of military robotics as well. 23andMe, who's been in the news a lot lately for genetics testing, who recently developed a capability to identify breast cancer markers in their genetic testing, received SBIR funding, and there's a ton of other examples as well. So. Again, a little bit more about the Oklahoma Catalyst programs. We are a statewide and national collaboration. So while we are centered at the Tom Love Innovation Hub at the University of Oklahoma, we have funding from the U.S. Small Business Administration in D.C. and from our friends at OCAS here in Oklahoma, as well as from the Oklahoma Business Roundtable. The Oklahoma Catalyst programs are grouped into three general groupings. Networking, training, and mentoring are loose categorizations. One of the challenges, if you've never heard about SBIR, or even if you have, is where do you start, right? So Dion did a great job of throwing out some things that they needed, some legal expertise, some fabrication. Those are all issues that a lot of SBIR companies tend to face. And a lot of the folks that tend to win these SBIR grants do tend to be on the more technical side, and they want to do their research and development of their technology. But sometimes there is a next step to that to commercialize and take that technology to market that they need supported. So to increase the number of interactions that those folks have, like we have here this morning, we do have three specific programs. One has already happened. So Dion mentioned that she wanted to get connected to Tinker. So if you're in the SBIR world and you want to contract with the Air Force, Tinker is a great place to start here in Oklahoma. And so we had a workshop there where we had folks from the Air Force Sustainment Center come and talk about their strategic needs and gave people the opportunity to ask questions about the topics that are currently open right now, so that those people could start to develop a relationship between one another, and whenever they go home to read that proposal, whenever they come in, maybe they'll remember meeting that person at the workshop. We have our Oklahoma Women Impacting STEM and Entrepreneurship Conference coming up on September 13th and 14th, which we would love for all of you to attend. And the real purpose of this conference really is to help professional women working in STEM and entrepreneurship and business-related fields develop their professional networks. So way back before we submitted our proposal, one of our partner organizations helping us to organize this conference came and said, one of the challenges we have is due to the underrepresentation of women working in STEM fields, oftentimes it's difficult to build the same networks that our male counterparts have. So we thought, okay, let's have a conference to try to solve that problem. And while this conference really is focused on solving that problem and highlighting the awesome work that women in Oklahoma are doing to impact Oklahoma and beyond through STEM, what better audience to talk to about SBIR than this? We also do have the SBIR connector platform. So if you're sitting here thinking, okay, this is all great, but how do I even begin to find a topic and know whether or not I can respond to it? That's a valid thought, because government websites are well known to not be the best. And so we are trying to centralize all of the SBIR topics that are currently dispersed throughout all 11 of those different government agency websites into one single place, so that you can not only go and identify a topic, but find people who are also interested in the same topic. So if you're a researcher looking for a business, or you're a business looking for a researcher, you can start to make connections on that topic. So it's our SBIR Connector platform, I like to think of it as a matchmaking service for folks interested in SBIR and small business. We do have a reviewers network, so if you want to submit an SBIR proposal and you need a review on the actual proposal itself and get feedback to know if it's good or needs work, we have folks that we're training that can help provide that. The Catalyst Researchers Program is starting soon. The applications are currently available. If you are or have friends or colleagues that are currently in a graduate program, especially in STEM and technology-related fields at any Oklahoma university, they're eligible to apply for this program, where they'll receive kind of base level entrepreneurship business 101 training and receive $1,900 at the completion of that training to help to encourage them to think about how they're going to take their research and their expertise and turn it into a business. We also have lectures, so if any of you are professors in the room and want your business school students to hear about this, typically in business school, VC is a huge focus. Angel investing, loans, traditional forms of capital are a huge focus. But the statistic I like to throw out is in 2017, there was roughly $26 billion invested in the venture capital world. And SBIR was about $2.7 billion, right? So that's about 10% of that total number. Seems like we should be talking about that at least a little bit. We also do have our SBIR Accelerator, which is currently kicking off this week, where if you're interested in this, or you have colleagues that are interested in SBIR and you don't know where to start, if you apply to the Accelerator, we actually walk you through the process and help mentor you through the process of submitting an SBIR proposal, so that you're not so lost. You're not thinking, well, how do I do government registrations? How do I get legal expertise? Who do I have doing my accounting? Because it's me and 3 people and we don't have all that in place. Is my proposal good? Am I writing it to the right audience right now? All those issues are what we help through. And then even beyond that, say you win a phase 1, or a company wins a phase 1. During the phase 1 SBIR program, the way that you manage that money and the way that you are a steward of that money and work towards commercialization often determines your success in getting that phase 2. And if you just think of it from a numbers standpoint, phase 1 is typically $150,000, but phase 2 is typically $1.5 million, right? So that's where the real money comes and where a lot of work can be done. And so why not support companies that have already been successful getting a phase 1 and getting to phase 2? And so SBIRX does that by helping us to give Oklahoma-based companies with SBIR dollars support in writing their actual business and commercialization plan, which is actually a section of the phase 2 SBIR proposal. If you have any other questions about any of this, and I'm happy to take any right now, please contact us. So we do have a website that goes a little bit more in depth and has applications and registrations for all those different programs I just went through at okcatalyst.com. Tom Wavering, our executive director at the Tom Love Innovation Hub, is the subject matter expert and brings his 20 plus years of SBIR experience to OU, and I am our programs manager, so I'm the one that is responsible for making all the day-to-day activities happen and making sure, if any of us connect in the room afterwards, that something comes of it and you take advantage of these programs. And one last thing, I'm from Norman, so went to Norman North, go to T-Wolves, hope I'm not offending anybody in the room. I'm from Norman, went to OU, and learned about everything happening at the Tom Love Innovation Hub, and was super inspired. And I really think this is a great resource. So I don't know about all you, but I don't get super excited about government contracting and a bunch of government acronyms, which is part of the reason why we named this the Oklahoma Catalyst programs, to try to cast a broader net. But it's a great resource for Oklahoma. So we don't have all the capital or venture capital that Austin or Boston or San Francisco or other places have, but we do have a lot of smart people. And over the past 20 years, on average, there's only been about $10 billion worth of SBIR funding coming into Oklahoma. And whenever you consider that a phase 2 is typically $1.5 or $2 million, that's only a handful of awards, right? So we believe that we can be better. We believe that we can drive more SBIR dollars coming into Oklahoma. I hope you all help me do that, either by taking advantage of these programs or connecting me to people that can. And the most important part of this is, this will actually lead to real jobs, real economic development if we're successful. So thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Appreciate that. I think, I said all these places are kind of maybe disconnected in some way. I think what I've learned today, I think probably the same thing I did, which is between Daniel and Tom Wavering, who I don't think here today, Tom's fantastic. I'm just going to call him. But they can help me figure out where
Please do, yeah.
And I think that's really, really impressive for sure. So, are there questions for Daniel? This is a really, really big deal. I think you said it best, Daniel. You said that this is something a woman has now that hasn't had in the past. So, very thankful to the University of Oklahoma, to all the work that's being done at our South Research Campus. This is state of the art. This is stuff that is at the edge that is available for you here in Norman. It's also available certainly for those universities. So, questions for Daniel?
Kristen, yeah.
Can you share some examples of Oklahoma companies that you're working with right now?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so that's a great question, because I was just thinking in my head, sometimes it's hard to think about what a concrete example of this looks like, right? So one of the companies that we're currently helping through our SBIR X program that has SBIR funding is called All Things Bugs, and they are centered out of Oklahoma City, and they have SBIR funding to develop cricket and mealworm production capabilities for cricket and mealworm protein powders. So crickets are very sustainable, a very sustainable form of food production in terms of the water and other resources that it takes to create a pound of cricket protein powder. Is much less than beef or others. So that the government is interested in investing in that for the food security capabilities that it gives the U.S., both on the agricultural side, being able to use that to feed animals that we will end up eating, and on the human consumptive side. So whenever we had our first meeting, he brought an example of his protein powder. One of our students that works on my team